Welcome, folks, to the Dark Domain. Uh, so Thursday, I watched it before it came out. Antman and Wasp, quantomania. I want to welcome you guys in. Now, I'm gonna attack critics and give you some theories. All right, so I'm gonna attack the critics right now. For Rotten Tomatoes to give the the negative aspect of the film a bad review, which fair, and I'll tell you exactly later on of why. Now, the movie made almost 4.5, maybe more now, $1 million for a movie that sucked and got a bad review. Now, I've also heard some people are getting tired of Marvel stuff. Fair, not knocking you. Okay. Uh, Now there's fan people of the comic and comics in general, and then there's people that don't know the comics that are fans, and then there's people that you just don't get it. You're probably tired. Given, yes, I'll give you wholeheartedly yes. Okay, you could be tired of it. Now me, I'm a DC and Marvel. I'm all comics. Doesn't matter. Anime does that. I'm a fan. It just has to be interesting to me that I can sit there. What I'm going to say to you right now. Now, before I get into this movie, I want to tell you one thing. I love DC. And you guys could argue with it. You could send a comment, whatever. I'm okay with it. I got mad on DC when Flashpoint first came out for one reason only. DC never figured out time travel or moving through the futures or alternate timelines. DC never figured that out. The original Flashpoint, when it came out, screwed up DC, which is why they changed their logo to 52. Then 52 went for a while. Then 52 changed. It's no longer 52. If you buy a comic book, it's no longer 52. Now, anyone who's a true comic book fan would notice this and notice they screwed up. I'm not blaming DC for making Flash be the person to blame for altering every version of DC. DC has a good thing with their animated. Dead on Point doesn't change. We'll all love the animated versions of DC. Live action, DC screwed up. And it's all because they got to explain whatever story they use from the first time Flashpoint happened. Infinite Crisis. The first time that happened, DC could not explain it, so they made 52. That's why on their logo at the time was 52. A person that did comic book history, they put 52 on there for that reason, because they made 52 universes. But couldn't explain how or why supposedly there's that many Supermen, that many Batman. Well, one might be dead, so one is different. What yada yada. That's where they fucked up. So I love DC and Marvel simultaneously, and they're faulted all on each one of their own little things. Now let's go into Ant-Man and Wasp and Quantumania. Now, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a bad review. I wouldn't say a bad. I don't know. I think they gave it 35. I don't know. I would have to look it up. I'm not gonna look it up. I would give if I was Rotten Tomatoes, I would give it 75, which means in the dark domain that'd be a 7. Now my nitpicks is for those that have seen the movie and those that haven't, sorry, spoiler. MODOK, there's I have two things with that one. MODOK, explain where Yellow Jacket went. Now that's completely different, which makes sense that this is based with the part with the multi-universe. So we all know MODOK wasn't created that way. Fair. Wasn't created that way, but in a multi-universe, okay. And he was stuck in the quantum realm from Ant-Man 1. Fine. Not going to get too mad about it. Yes. For those that know Marvel, know MODOK, that's not how he was created. I'll let that slide. I will agree that he was treated like shit. He got beat up a lot, which happens in the normal comic books. MODOK is just a giant sized head that with baby arms and baby legs. He gets beat up. Fair enough. I liked it. He got beat up. Would I wish it was the Hulk that beat him up? Probably. But uh, Ant Man's daughter did it. That's fine. All right. So this movie, whether you think it's bad or good, it did explain. Now this is where it's going to go to slight spoiler or a theory. So it explained the multi universe, especially when Ant Man went into the probable storm, which means anything that's probable that could happen, which in a weird aspect, scientifically, not saying it sounds, only a scientist could tell me, but my idea of science and a probable storm where the instant you think of something that creates another alternate or probable cause of anything, I like that. Enjoyed it. Because everyone thought it was different. And the best was Baskin Robbins guy. Because that was a probability of another theory that, because he thought it. Or a part of him that thought it. So, that's where the probable storm comes. And if you think it's like, oh, that sucks. It's like, no, actually, if you stuck in an idea where like you thought one thing, you would create multiple thought processes of a universe. So that's where the multiverse comes in. Now, in the comic books, and I'm going to tell you this, in the comic books, the multiverse, quantum verse, and where Fantastic Four goes, what I think is the negative zone, they're all layers amongst a layer that we all live in. So some people's like, oh, we're humans, but not humans, but we're humans, that they said in the movie, was an idea of like, there's humans, but they're just in a different realm or a level of whatever. That's what happened. So it's not unreal to sit there and see that. Now, here's my second bad thing besides MODOK was we really didn't need Bill Murray. Now, I love Bill Murray, but we didn't need him. Because Kang really told the story of, I think, was it Janet Van Dyne? What's her name's husband? Wife? He basically told of why, what happened, kind of what was there. Now, Kang was awesome. Now, here's another thing I'm going to tell you. That was one version of Kang. We saw Kang in Loki TV show. We saw Kang here. There's multiple Kangs. Hence why Kang Dynasty is going to come. Now, the end post credits showed, now this is kind of spoiler, not spoiler, whatever, a theory. Now, Loki 2 is coming out. Loki's stuck in a time of a variant of Kang. Now, just because the Kang we saw now isn't a different Kang. And I did have a friend pose a question to me. Will whatever Kang we see when it gets down to the point become the Kang that keeps the continuum perfect, not split or divided? We don't know. It's a good theory because there's a lot of different Kangs. One that gave up from being a conqueror and decided just to keep the future timeline correct. There's the Kang that is in Egypt that wanted to be a conqueror, and that's what he did. So, for those that's like, oh, that ending's stupid, why is there so many Kangs? It's like, because it's a multiverse and he is a time traveler, which means he has multiple versions of himself in different areas, and because he was the conqueror, you have that many Kangs. So don't get upset when you see something that like that's just stupid. It's not stupid. I was like, Marvel does one good thing correct. They tell you how time and the future works. And my best example is Cable. Cable and Bishop come from the future to supposedly whatever present time they fall into. Cable wants to kill Gambit. Gambit did not do and kill the senator in the comic books. It was Mystique. But they know how to keep their timelines correct. And this is why it's like I always get mad at DC because they do not understand how time flows. You let one man destroy everything and make alternate versions, but you can't explain it. Marvel at least explains it, and it makes sense. And Marvel always kept separate timelines separate from each other, which is why Kang Dynasty works, is because there's multiple universes within the universe that you see this one person at one point in time and say Fantastic Four or Avengers defeat them and they disappear. Timeline makes sense. They're not supposed to be there. They just happen to try to do something at that moment and these heroes stop them. DC hasn't figured out, like, keep your timeline perfect. So then now I'm going to iterate. If I spoiled anything about Marvel or DC or anything else, I'm sorry. But in order to understand the comic books and when you see it, is what timeline are they in? James Gunn wants to do Elseworld. Elseworld is completely different from Earth 1 of DC. Elseworld is completely different. So, me personally, don't listen to critics. Because there's no way that this movie got like 35 Rotten Tomatoes and still make bank. Like, really? My personal idea is some of these critics don't know their ass from their elbow. Probably never read a comic book. Probably don't even own a comic book. I'm not judging them. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're right. You as a viewer, watch it. You'll see the small little pieces that add to a greater part. Like this is gonna go from Loki to King Dynasty, and for the most anticipated thing that majority of people that in Marvel want to sit there and see is a good Fantastic Four. In the comic books, Kang is part of Fantastic Four and part of Avengers. Like I always said, is read the hard material, figure your stuff out, pick a story that has to deal with what you're seeing now. You'll get the gist of it. Yes, do I sit there and say there's a couple things in Antman and Wasp that was stupid? Yes. But the overall process is leading up to other things and stories. Kang is only one part, and it falls with Loki, and it falls with Avengers and all that, like all the Avengers and this and that. Every character you see now that was part of the Avengers that we saw in Avengers Endgame. Every character has a part. It might be like minuscule, really minute, but they are part of a greater whole. That's why Marvel works so well, is because they're all connected. Even though they do separate shit, they're connected. DC is almost the same, but they just haven't figured out time travel and alternate universes. They need someone that could like piece together all that to make it make more sense. Like you can't have like 1,000 different fucking Superman. That just doesn't make no sense. And Flash keeps going back in the past, go to the future, go to the past, go to the future, go to the past. And then at one point he dies, but then comes back. Like, how do you explain that? Hal Jordan goes good, he's all good, then goes bad, kills half of the Green Lantern Corp, but then comes back good. Like, explain that. Like when you write a story, explain the damn thing. So what I will say right now is I give Ant-Man, Wasp, and Quantumania a 7. There's a lot of things I will nitpick at. I think they were not necessary. I think they were stupid. But there was great aspects in the movie that when it came down to what it needed to say, worked. Everything else, could have dealt without it. And I'm a big Marvel fan. Didn't really need it, but it happened. So that's my rundown on Ant-Man and Wasp. I will hit you up with more other facts. If it's about comic books, I'll hit you up about it. For right now, I'm going to leave you with watch the movie so you get to understand of how the multiverse, quantum verse, and when Fantastic Four comes out, if they throw Negative Zone in there, they're all just layers of one aspect. Like if humans are up here, there's small layers within the universe that we don't know. If we could shrink down like Ant-Man and keep going down into every particle, you would see a different universe, completely different than anything else. So, I'm going to leave you on this. The Dark One is out. I will catch you later. May the next thing I talk to you about will be good. Might be small facts, so it'll be reals. I'm out.